My parents always said actions speak louder than words, so I kind of try to follow that if I can.
This is Bina, a Better Together podcast from the students and faculty of Contra Costa Midrashah, where Jewish students, mentors, and elders sit down to share stories and trade wisdom. I'm Nolan Valdivia. Today I'm co-hosting with fellow Better Together teens Aviva Feder and Yarden Crane. Today we're talking with Burt Feldstein. Burt is a beloved Better Together participant, a dedicated member of Congregation Beth Chaim, and a volunteer with the local police force. We'll think you'll be inspired to hear about his passion for helping others and the world.
Hi, Burt. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Maybe say your name, 2 things you like. I don't know, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Burt Feldstein. I'm a senior citizen who's presently retired, although I do some volunteer work, and I'm also president of the Beth Chaim Brotherhood and on the Beth Chaim Board of Directors.
Awesome. What got you into Beth Chaim and what made you start becoming the president and all these fancy things?
Oh, well, my gal Lynn Gross and her family belonged to Beth Chaim, and so when I met her, we decided to join together, and we've been members now for probably over 20 years. Somebody recruited me to be in Brotherhood, and became treasurer, and then several years ago became president and treasurer. So I'm doing both functions for Brotherhood. And then being the Brotherhood president automatically is on the board of directors. But in prior years, I was on the board as treasurer at Beth Chaim. I was treasurer there for 7 years as well.
Mm-hmm. And did you decide to be treasurer because you work in business? You said you got a degree in business, correct?
Yes. It was something that I thought I could help with the temple and do with my financial background. And it worked out well. We stayed afloat during those 7 years.
That's all that matters. Would you say that your Jewish, your Jewish roots were very strong in growing up as a child? Were you required to go to synagogue a lot, or did that come over time?
I grew up in an Orthodox family, and basically that turned me off of Judaism. I did not like Orthodoxity. First of all, they don't explain anything about what you're praying for, what you're studying. Everything was just Hebrew. You wrote Hebrew, and the customs that you had to follow. And what really turned me off is at my bar mitzvah, I'm sitting there on the Bina, and I'm looking up, and my mother is way up in the balcony. I'm saying, why can't she be with the rest of the people? And so I thought that right away that was not what I would like, and been that way ever since. And feel that way in Israel too, where women only have a small portion of the Wailing Wall, and meanwhile women are in the armed forces fighting for the country, yet they're not getting all the freedoms that the men have there. So that's all goes back to Orthodoxy. That I'm a strong believer in the Reform movement and the URJ and Zionism for Israel. So,
what is wisdom you'd have for your teenage self, or you can also do advice that was given to you as a teenager, something you want to pass on?
That's a tough question. I was thinking back lots of years.
Well, what if you don't want to think about that, what's some advice you would give us, I guess, as we're going on?
This is a tough time living with so much going on. So the thing is, you can't let that get to you personally. You got to keep that out separate and think about your schooling and plan and think about what your future is going to be aside from what is going on in the world around you, because that can kind of make you not focus on what you really need to be focusing on. So I would say to teenagers, set your goals and still work towards those.
Did you focus a lot on school when you were a child? Were you?
Unfortunately not. No, I grew up in a very poor family. My father was a truck driver. He was born with cataracts before they had the surgery that could correct that. So he had very limited ability in school and left after 7th grade. So our family was poor because he had, not high earning jobs. So during school, I had to help out with the family, had the largest morning paper in the district. And then after school, I worked studying. I worked stocking shelves in grocery stores and stuff. So I had very little time for study, unfortunately. Tried to do my best, but the only way I could have gotten into college right out of school was a free ride, and my grades didn't support that. So I did the work, but my brother and sister was able to get to school. Thanks, I say thanks to me.
Well, I think it is a lot of thanks to you. Just hearing about it, I think sometimes the older siblings, I'm not an older sibling, but I think sometimes the older siblings are not appreciated enough, especially when there's like a big age gap, because it turns a lot of like, they're a lot of the primary caretakers, and they see the children and like interact with them sometimes more than parents.
Well, my brother and sister were excellent students. My brother went on to law school right out there. He graduated #1 in the law class, and he's still practicing law, even 1 year old, back in Rochester, New York.
You said you went to college. What did you do for college?
When I got out of the service, I went to I started in community college, going at night the whole time. And my wife, fortunately, helped tremendously by typing all the papers and stuff, because I was not a good typist. I say I was a Hutton Packer, H&P, Hutton Pack.
And without her ability to help me with that, it was a really tough struggle. And then from there, I went on to regular school. I did it all in evenings. And I was able to get good jobs while doing that. And like so one of the schools actually sent me to grad school at Amos Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth, where I studied credit and financial management. And so my whole working career after that was all finance.
When you were in school, how did you like balance going to school at night and having a day job? How was that for you?
It was difficult because, my day started early in the morning and ended late at night. And fortunately, again, my wife helped take care of the kids while I was doing all this. Without her support, this wouldn't have been possible. Didn't have much time for sports or anything during that time either, unfortunately. It was just work, all work and school.
Do you wish that you could have played sports in high school or
Well, in high school, I was on a swimming team in high school.
Nice.
And I lettered my last two, just on my junior and senior year. And it was kind of fun. I did backstroke, did the 100-yard backstroke and 50-yard in the medley relay. And my junior year, I was third string, but really second string because first string was ineligible grade-wise. And then my senior year, I was second string, but really first string because that same guy was still ineligible. But I won my share of meets, so it was good.
That's all that matters.
And a lot of it had to do with back then we had in Rochester, we had the Jewish center with a pool and courts and stuff. When we go there, we would be able to practice swimming at the pool and at the Jewish center. And also and during the weekends, we could go, they had dances for the teenage kids and stuff. It was really great. And unfortunately, that no longer exists.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I grew up maybe a block or two from the JCC, the Jewish Community Center. They just revamped it, so it's much more beautiful than it ever was when I grew up there. But I would remember like going. That's how I learned to swim, and so my grandpa was very similar. Of like, I would go and I would get swimming lessons every single time, every single year, up until since I was a very young baby, up until I moved here. And so I feel like those community centers create a lot of like, well, also what they're saying is like they create a lot of community, but it's also just like it's a place for fun, and they have the basketball courts and the swimming pools and it's just.
But the other thing it did too, they had Red Cross present. And so I became a Red Cross water safety instructor, and I was teaching kids how to swim. And I actually had an opportunity to work with Down syndrome kids to help them get accustomed to the water they couldn't really learn whole out swimming, but they swim to a degree that at least swim and enjoy themselves in the water.
That's really, really cool. What got you started with that program?
It just seemed like something I'd like to do when I saw the Red Cross there, and where they tried to recruit you to do Well, I learned that when you do your swimming instructor. First of all, they taught me how to swim, and then which progressed up to where I was on the swimming team, and then they said, well, now you can go help people, and this is some of the programs we have available to help people, and so jumped right in on that.
It's amazing. Do you think that, well, going back to your Orthodox, you grew up Orthodox, do you think that some of your Jewish values like came in, and so that's your willingness to like help others, or do you think that that influenced it, or do you think more of like maybe helping your family and like that's just like how you grew up?
The Jewish part really didn't teach you to help much because, like I said, was when you went to temple, there wasn't like now when you go to our temple, there's people say, hi, how are you? Talk, there's interface with all these people and friendly. That the Orthodox people went there, they put on their talit, they davened and all that. So there was not any talking or like didn't seem like a whole lot of camaraderie at all with that. So I don't think that really did it much at all for anything. Of my family upbringing, my parents were very caring. My brother and sister were caring people. I think that probably would carried forth in that, and some of my friends too. A lot of my friends felt the same way I did belonging to the Orthodox temple.
I think it's really important to just that's my little piece of advice, I guess, is to find friends and people who are very close to your identities and morals, because the more like close that you are, the more that they're like, they don't have to be like you with interest, but if they fit your morals, then it like it clicks. I don't know how to remember it.
I agree with that. I think it's much easier to make friends when you have the same moral ground, and when you know that what you have in common is the stuff that I think really matters.
Agreed. And it's like the foundations of like, for me personally, I'm a very big family person, and so I always look for like friends who treat others with kindness, and like I do a lot of work with that and volunteering with that in general, and so I think that's very high up on my like moral list. Whenever I meet with someone or just learn, I think kindness is the biggest thing, and you never know someone's story, you never know what someone's going through, so treating them with kindness doesn't hurt.
Nope, not at all. There needs to be more of that in this world, especially nowadays.
I think you're doing a great kindness with volunteering with the police. Do you want to talk more about that?
Oh, certainly. So it's interesting how I got involved in this. I was never involved in police services at all. But one day we were coming home for dinner and a drunk driver rear-ended us right kind of where you live, right on. I was going north on Danville Boulevard at El Cerro. We're stopped at that light. Bam. Our car was wrecked pretty badly. We couldn't move, but Danville police came, made sure we were okay, and drove us home because our car certainly wasn't drivable. And so I said, gee, you guys are great. Anything I can do to help you? I said, hey, they said, hey, we have a volunteer service. So I signed up for that, went to the Citizens Police Academy, went through the background checks and all that, and went through it, and now I'm in my 12th year doing it. So
that's amazing. Do you think that you've made a big impact on people's lives with that?
Well, I think what it does is a lot of people have very negative connotations about the police department. And part of our job is to show that there's a good side, that it's not all tickets and arrests and all that. We do provide services. And one of the services we provide is vacation house checks. Like if you or your parents go away for vacation, you can go online, request that we check your house while you're gone. And we do. We go around, make sure all the doors are locked. There's no broken windows or anything. And we report on that. So we get quite a few of those to do.
That's really cool.
I think it's really stuck out to me when you said that when you got rear-ended, one of the first thoughts that came to mind was, oh, how can I help you? And I just wanted to shout that out because I think that's such a, it's so not impressive. It's
admirable.
Yes, it's admirable that one of your first instincts was to ask how you can repay that. And I think that's just really I think there needs to be a lot more of that. I think that's really cool.
And it also is very telling of like who you are as a character. I feel like if your first instinct is to be like you just went through this traumatic accident, and then your first instinct, it may not have been the exact second later, but like your first instinct is how can I help and how can I give back? It shows so much about like who you are as a person. And I feel like actions, just even if they're the little actions, it shows so much about a person.
Yeah. My parents always said actions speak louder than words, so I kind of try to follow that if I can.
Do you have a favorite story about police volunteering?
Now, one of them, many years ago, we were patrolling around and we got a call that there was a autistic boy that walked away from his home, and so they wanted an all-point search for the kid. And so they block off certain sections of the town. They clear it. We go around and clear it. So we were help clearing certain parts of the town. And we drove beyond the cleared section where the parents said the kid was not supposed to go south of Camino Tassajara. He had to stay on one side. So we knew pretty much he wasn't going to go over the other side of Camino Tassajara. So it's a big road to go across and lights and stuff. Dangerous. So we went further west, and sure enough, we saw him walking down on the west side. Back down there was sycamore, and so we stopped. We got him, called him in, and they came and reunited him with his parents. So that was a good thing.
It's amazing. Even again, just hearing your stories, just it goes back so much. Like it shows how much kindness you have and how much. Like just generosity you have to give back to the world.
And one time we rescued a squirrel.
That's important too. There's a lot of squirrels out there.
So we were driving down Harts, or heading towards Harts, driving north, and we were going by the railroad intersection. People are in the corner flagging us down. So we turn around and come back, and they say, "There's a squirrel down this drain. Can you get him out?" So we quit. We didn't have any tools. All that's what we called the fire guys, and the fire guys come and they came and lifted the thing up so the squirrel could get out. And what does the silly squirrel do? Runs across 6 lanes of traffic. Luckily, he didn't get hit.
Oh my God.
He didn't say thank you.
I'm sure he was thinking thank you.
Yes. She wanted to say it from across the street.
If we do find a house that has an open door, our job is to get away, because we don't know if there's anybody inside. They could be an armed robber inside. So we get away and call in on our radio, because we do carry regular radios, the police do. We called in our radio, and then they'll send 2 officers to come to clear the house and check it out, make sure it's safe. And then we let the owner know that they had an open door and so forth. And that's one of the good services that the town does to make sure. Mm-hmm. And knock on wood, all the open doors we found were just the owners just forgot to lock a door, mm-hmm. or didn't totally secure it all the way or something.
Yeah. I have a question going back to just your Judaism. What made you start to believe in Reform, and like what made you said you had a really bad connection with Orthodox, and I know it's a lot different, Orthodox and Reform and the different beliefs, but what made you try again and like be open to converting to Reform?
Well, I went to some services with some of my friends who were Reform, and it was more open, kind of understood what was going on. You know, part of it was in English, and the Orthodox, none of it was English. Then we had all these things I had to put tefillin on, I don't know why, and tzitzis and all this stuff, and we had 4 sets of dishes, and it was just following all this was like, why? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm still here tomorrow if I don't do it the same way. You know, I'm thinking, why do I have to do all these extra things and not enjoy life more instead of trying to follow all these strict rules? And so with the Reform, I got to be Jewish. I followed a lot of Jewish practices, but I felt freer. I actually felt a lot more freedom than I felt under the Orthodox rule.
Yeah.
And I felt that women also the same way. And the Orthodox women are like second-class citizens. And I never liked that idea.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, like, inequality, I feel like from listening to you talk a little bit. You've talked a lot about like special education and people with disabilities, but also about women. Like, has it always been very prevalent to you talking about inequalities, or like is
Yeah.
that something that you've always?
Racial inequality too. I really dislike that. I kind of feel everybody's equal. You know, we all got this. Basically, sometimes some of these. Sometimes I feel like walking up to some guy who's a anti-Semite race, and say, "Hey, that blood transfusion you got, you know that came from an African American guy? You know, it's blood running through your system. How do you feel about that?"
Funny. No, I like the way that the thought behind that, because I think right now it's very prevalent in my mind. I'm taking a sociology class. And in sociology, the whole point is to analyze, why do we have race? Why do we have racism? And it's all just in there, and it's just like to control others, basically. And so just thinking about it, it breaks my heart personally, because it's like we're all the same. No one's our blood runs the same.
Kidneys, their hearts, all, you know.
Exactly.
Interchangeable.
No, I definitely
What gets me is too. I said this is a kind of a silly rationalization, but we're supposed to be the smartest animal on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're the only animal that kills just for killing. Other
true.
animals, they kill because they have to eat or whatever, because they're predators, but they don't just pick fights or.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me think of a quote I saw the other day. Someone said that killing is like innate in human nature. And then they said, but you've never seen a mouse make a mousetrap? And I thought that really resonated with how I've been feeling about inequality, especially because it's not really inherent.
So, in other words, killing a mouse on a mousetrap is. But then again, on the other hand, that one goes a little different, because the mice can breed disease and stuff that can impact your family, and so sometimes you have to take steps that are not very favorable. Like we do that, but I don't like doing it. But I know I got to do that, or because the mice can cause sickness and stuff in the house.
Yeah, it's never the mice making them.
I don't want to kill Mickey, but sometimes I have to.
I grew up on Tom and Jerry, where it was always the mouse and the cat trying to kill each other. Nolan and Burt, do you guys want to talk a little bit about how you guys know each other?
Lynn and Burt were pretty much the first people I met doing better together. I knew after the first time I met them, I had fallen in love. I mean, I always love seeing them. It always puts a smile on my face. And I love reading Lynn's long texts, and I love when Burt cracks his jokes. Through the program, I have found my third set of grandparents. Like, it is awesome. I have loved the connection I have made, and yeah, it's awesome.
And how
We
long
feel
have
the
you
same
guys-
way.
That's so cute. How long have you guys known each other for?
What is it now? I'm a sophomore in a certain
2 years?
grade? It's 2 or 3.
2 or 3 years. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy just to see. I feel like this is exactly what this podcast is about, is highlighting like just the connections that we have with each other, and just it doesn't matter what age you are, you can still be friends.
Yeah.
That's what I like
Absolutely.
to say. And I do agree. I feel like I've gotten so many different sets of grandparents. Like I have 10,000 more that I am so thankful to have, and I'm still thankful to have both sets of my grandparents, but I have so many more now. And
You guys are lucky to have no grandparents. I never had that opportunity. I had 4 grandmothers and never met one. They all passed away before I was born. One grandfather married 3 times. I haven't figured out why. The second one kind of like disappeared somehow. Because I checked Ancestry.com and I can't.
yeah,
I couldn't put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But and my mother's father was pushed away from our family by her older brother because he wanted to take over their business. So he was gone, and my father's father wound up in the old age home. So we had to go see him there. So we didn't have a whole lot of interplay with him. So grandparents I would love to have them over again, and because I see what kids do and how they enjoy their grandparents.
Yeah, I was actually very fortunate to know my great grandpa. We used to call him grandpa because in Hebrew you call your grandparents Saba and Safta. So we used to call him grandpa, and I actually very clearly remember him. He passed away when I was like, I think 8, something along those lines. So I got to know him and know his story, and I just very distinctly remember him hugging me. Like I can just, I think about it now and I just remember his hug over everything. And just like, that's one thing that sticks to me.
That sure beats knowing about your family heritage other than having to look on Ancestry.com. Really.
Well, my ancestry, I'm 99% Ashkenazi Jew. So we're very diverse. But
It's the 1%.
but just, I don't know.
Have you ever met your great grandparents, Aviva?
No, I have not, but I am named after one of my Hebrew name is after one of my great grandmothers.
Yeah, that I got my dad's grandfather's name as my middle name, so I never got the chance to meet them, but I do really wish I could have.
I have my great grandmother's name as my middle name.
I'm named after my grandmother, Bertha. I'm sure glad they didn't name me Bertha.
That would be very fun.
I'd have to be the toughest kid in school.
I love that, but it shows how deep-rooted it is in Jewish tradition to name our children after.
I actually was not named after someone Jewish. She was a Catholic, or he was a Mexican Catholic guy. It's my dad's side. Yeah. And apparently him and his wife were some great cooks. I really wish I was able to like try that. But I love my Bubby and Zadie and my Nana and my Papa so much. Like every time I get to see him, it puts a smile on my face. I mean, I just have endless memories with them all. I mean, the list keeps growing.
That's awesome. What does the name Bertha mean to you, and how did they decide to choose from Bertha to Burt?
Beats me. Like I said, I'm just glad they didn't call me Bertha. That's all. But that was just her name that was handed by her parents. But that was done way back in the 1890s. So, don't know. But back then, Bertha was a far more common name. Now it's totally gone pretty much. You don't see too many people named Bertha. Except maybe Big Bertha.
I feel like you have a pretty unique name, Burt.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know many people named Burt.
No, it's not many. A few famous people, not very many at all. And especially with the old Burton with a U. You know, a lot of people are Burt with an E. Or there's more Burts with an E than Burts with an U, I think. I never really took a census of that sort of.
I mentioned to one of my friends that I was going to film my podcast because I left rehearsal early, and they said, "Oh, like who's gonna be on it?" And I said, "Oh, this guy named Burt," and they thought I was talking about our friend Robert because that's sometimes what we call him, and I was like, "No, different person."
Oh, it's funny when it's so sad that one of the most famous Burt's a freaking puppet.
Isn't Burt the name of a Sesame Street?
Yes.
character?
Funny story about that. The first 2 times I ever met Lynn and Burt, I immediately came home and told my parents the amazing people I had just met. And my dad, he's a funny guy. I mean, he didn't remember Lynn's name for the first 2 sessions. So every time I came back, and he still makes a joke to this day whenever I come back. You see Bert and Ernie this time? I said, no, I saw Lynn and Bert, though.
That's hilarious.
What is a Jewish value that means a lot to you?
I think a lot of the Jewish value to me is following a lot of the 10 Commandments, being honest, and also helpfulness, providing chesed for people who need help. And there's so many, really, and we get to see a lot of the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a lot of that stuff for helping people at the temple and things. So I think helpful is probably one of the best ones.
What do you do in the Brotherhood? Like, is it a different like section or?
It's a men's group. So basically, we have a lunch once a month. We pick different restaurants to go to. We meet. We do some gaming stuff. We like the Super Bowl pool. We just finished the Super Bowl pool, and we arrange it so a portion of the winnings goes into the Brotherhood treasury that we help sponsor different things, and we have a retreat. Our temple president's family has a place up in Placerville. So this last year we went up there. I didn't go because I don't like the cold weather, but we had 25 guys go up there and spend 3 nights up there and had a good time doing hiking and skiing. Some went skiing, some did fishing in their lake on the falls, and played games, poker and stuff. Our rabbi went. They had a service and they had a little Torah study on the Saturday morning. So it was quite nice.
I have a question for you. So I know I've heard you say you're a volunteer police officer, and you said one of your biggest values was giving back. What does being a volunteer police officer mean to you, and how the ways you work?
It's a service to the community. Basically, we're in town, and when they have a lot of the events in town, like one of our bigger events is this 4th of July parade, and then we have lighting the oak tree, and so you'll see us walking around in our volunteer uniforms, and we have radios. We're all synced in, so if we see somebody in distress, we help. We call it in, and that's also we're visible. We're there visibly, so people know there's a place they can get help. Even though sometimes for a volunteer, the biggest question you get is, where's the closest restroom? So,
Sometimes.
but the other thing is that we patrol areas in our patrol car, and it puts even though we don't make arrests and stuff, but it puts a police presence in a neighborhood, which means a crook could be checking out a neighborhood, sees the police car and says, oh, this may be a place I don't want to be, and go somewhere else. And so we're also a deterrent. We keep away, and it's a good feeling doing that because we have a limited police force in our town, and this is just an added auxiliary that helps project a larger police department. Oh, and the other thing we do too is like we don't do traffic enforcement, but we'll park by a 4-way stop sign, and you will watch the people come to a screeching halt. Some almost go through the windshield when they see the police car, and so it makes people think twice that maybe you should stop sign. You don't know there might be a police car there. But it's also a good safety thing to think, there could be another car coming. It's a good idea maybe to stop at the stop sign. They're there for a reason.
Maybe they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Did you know that? No, I feel like it's a really good way of just like honestly, I agree with the protection thing of even if you don't necessarily do like respond but you're still responding and you're creating a safer environment because you're here, and sometimes showing up is like the biggest thing. And so you guys showing up is just creating a lot like a presence.
Yeah, and also if there's a line down or an accident that's blocking traffic, they could call us to do traffic control and move cars around. So especially like a line, we've had some power lines go down, we'll block it off so nobody goes near the power line, stuff like that we can do.
Going back to advice, do you remember the best piece of advice you've ever gotten, or something that you've gotten that you like keep with you throughout your life?
Try to be yourself. So don't take things too seriously, although I do. But try to be kind and try to be understanding to other people, because everybody has their own ideas and things. So, there's no sense arguing with people. They're going to have a different viewpoint. So just, let them have their viewpoint, and, you can share yours, but don't get into an argument over it. It's not worth it.
No, I agree. I've always been in my family the one who stops the arguments. I really don't like But I just don't think that it's productive. I don't think that anything will come out of it except for hurt feelings because
One thing you can't do is just yourself change somebody's mind. It just, it's almost impossible.
agreed. What they think is what they think, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna change that.
No, it's got to be something other than you that's going to do that. It's got to be many different things that change their viewpoint. But one conversation or several conversations are not going to change somebody's point of view.
I think that's really important and really like we can take that into our own lives of like especially when going with I this is just an example for me of like going to teachers like you're not going to change their mind on a grade or you're not going to change their mind on how they're not going to just redo their whole curriculum. Like sometimes you need to come and you need to meet in the middle and you need to understand like in all aspects of life of like sometimes it just won't work out and sometimes we'll have our differences and we'll just agree to disagree. That's the word for it. So
I was never able to change a teacher's mind. But back dealing with Orthodox Hebrew school, that was another story because that was really strict discipline. That was like a really old school where they actually hit you.
would you rebel against like the practices whenever you would go? Like
No, but I've always had a sense of humor, and a lot of times the Hebrew school teacher didn't appreciate that. And so I got whacked in the hand with a paddle with 7 holes in it.
Oh.
goodness. That shows the stark difference because that would never happen to me.
Yeah, at Beth Chaim, that would not.
Yeah, no.
Would not fly
I
well.
don't see
think it
more
was
of
everything
Jeff.
happened
Today
to
that
you.
person would be in jail.
I don't see more of Jeff enforcing.
Oh yeah, most more Jeff would do is not.
Yeah,
give
not
us
that.
candy or something.
Yeah, give us candy. Here's some candy. Now be quiet. It's in the back.
Keep your mouth full so you don't talk. Yeah.
Well, at least you give yourself so chewy you keep your mouth stuck.
Yeah.
That's so smart. Just give them something to do.
That's what I do. To the kids that I teach at Sunday school, I'll give them nerds and I'll tell them to eat one singular, nerd until they're quiet. And so just keep them busy. They have to eat it one by one.
I feel like it's really cool to see the way that teachings are just like have developed and shifted over the years and how there's so many similarities, but there's also so many differences and just like what's taught in the curriculums are just, they're so different. They're so.
Arts was really basic way back then. I mean, you kids would go back in my classroom be totally bored. You say, "Whoa, what is this? This is so basic." Things have expanded so much.
Yeah, like I'll come home and I remember I feel like both you two have probably done this when you get home in like elementary school and you're like, "Mom or Dad, can you like come help me with this homework?" And they just look at it and they're like, "I've never seen this in my life. This is not what we used to do in school."
Yes, during math. If you haven't had a crying session
Oh
with
my
your
gosh.
parents on math, then you haven't done it right. Well,
Maybe you have done it right, I guess.
no, I was always very fortunate because my brother was a year above me, so then everything he would have a lot of the same teachers as me, and so every year I could just he doesn't do any of the work, I do all of the work, but it's like he could teach me because he knows exactly what the teacher wanted, and that was very
Yeah.
I
Sometimes.
like geometry. I remember that, but
Ooh.
calculus.
That makes one of us.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was supposed to take calculus this year and I said no. And so now I'm taking statistics instead.
How is that?
Not good.
Oh.
Worse than if I was taking calculus.
I said I got calculus on the bottom of my feet. I don't need to study it.
Geometry's horrible. I cannot stand geometry. It's very, very difficult.
It's just angles and lines and stuff.
Yeah.
When you say it
just
like
draw
that, it makes it real simple.
You draw a triangle and you're good.
You try and do a paragraph proof.
Oh, I do mine online, so I just mute them if I don't want to hear it.
Oh, I went through that. Don't worry. I did my time. I did my.
It was bad.
I don't need to be there anymore. But would you consider yourself more of like a math science person or more of like a
I
history?
liked science, but math I gave up at calculus. I
You're
decided
done.
and I decided because of that, I was one of the reasons why I switched from engineering to business.
That makes
Too many
sense.
calculations and stuff.
Yes, no.
I want to do something, and I want to interface more with people. Engineering, you don't interface much with people. You're on a drawing board and stuff. Back then, especially, it wasn't so much computerized as it is like nowadays. So it was like a lot of drawing and stuff. And I said, that's pretty boring. I like to talk.
When you went in the service with the Air Force, wasn't it a lot of math-based calculations?
Yeah, but that was basically easy. I learned to do a slide rule pretty good. You don't even know what a slide rule is.
No.
I don't know.
That was before calculators. It was a slide rule you print.
Uh-huh. I know what you're talking about. Like an abacus.
Yeah.
Like the length.
But it was straight and you had a slide in the middle and you match up and then give you the answer over here or there.
Ancient devices.
You can tell the difference between.
Never heard of that.
But in the service I had a top secret security clearance when I was 19 years old. And because I went to, they sent me to an Army tech school to learn how to make maps. And so with the maps we do in photo intelligence, we take pictures from like U-2 planes, spy planes, and we calculate how tall things are on the ground and put them on the map. And the map would be like what airplane, a B-52 pilot or the bombardier, what they would look at. They would see what we drew, and if that's what it was on their scope, that's where the target was. And so that was my job.
You did some high-tech stuff.
19, that is awesome.
And I drew 19 years old, and the bad part was while I was getting it took me several months to get the top secret security clearance. I was only 19, just had high school behind me, but they still had to do that. And so in the interim, I was waxing floors and cleaning toilets and that kind of stuff until I got my security clearance.
Do you think that made a big impact on your life, having such pressure and just like you had to grow up really fast? There was no in between of like, I can still
we
be
didn't have time to think about that really. The job, at least it wasn't a dangerous job. Because where I worked, I had to go through an armed guard every day with my credentials and stuff to get into where I was working. Mm-hmm. And so, and once we're there, it was kind of congealed. The officers were always good to us because they were supervised what we were doing. Yeah. And they knew they were pretty good guys because if we didn't do a good job, they were pushing us, all that. They'd want to keep our morale going. So it's pretty good. We had pretty good food. And we had to do shifts. We had to do sometimes graveyard or mid. I like the regular daytime shift because at night we go to the thing and go to the air club and dance and meet girls and stuff like that. But I didn't like the graveyard shift at all because I didn't sleep much.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was hard sleeping because where we worked and where our barracks was right at the end of the flight line where B-52s took off. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the loudest planes there is. There's 8 jets on a B-52. Mm-hmm. And then also we had the refuelers, the KC-135s, and we had an F-102 squadron there. So there's jets going on all the time taking off. So sleep was tough.
Yeah. How long did you serve for?
Well, 3.5 years. I got out 6 months early because my sleeping, I started having seizures. And so I got out a little bit early because of that.
So because of your poor sleeping habits, you had seizures, and then you decided after the Air Force to go and do overnights and do school at night?
Yeah.
Well, do what you got to do.
I had medication then to stop the seizures for a while. Uh-huh. They put me on the medication for a while. Unfortunately, after about maybe 4 or 5 years, they stopped. So I didn't need to take the medication after that.
I know
it was about 6 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I know I always tell you this, but once again, thank you for your service.
No, you're welcome. I'm glad to do it. I kept a young kid out of trouble.
Do you think your life would be a lot different now if you didn't go?
Probably.
Yeah.
My goal was to go to college
Mhm.
after high school, but like I said, my grades didn't get me a free ride, so it came out of the question. I really wanted to be a doctor. I even
Mhm.
took Latin in high school.
That's amazing.
What a waste that was. I couldn't find. I went around the whole neighborhood looking for anybody to speak Latin, and I couldn't find anybody.
You know, they still teach Latin at my old elementary school in Texas. And I actually had to take a few years of Latin. No, of that effect. Um, so okay, now it's all clicking to me. So you went to do your service, and so you got the GI, and so you got funds to help you
Yeah.
go to college, and so that's how you were able to go to
Yeah,
college.
yeah. And also, then some of my employers paid for part of it too that the GI Bill didn't cover.
Mm-hmm. And so
I got into managerial roles early in my career, which was really good.
And where did you work, like, while you were studying? What did you work as? Like, what jobs did you do?
Worked as my part of the stuff I was working for the county because of my mapping. I was making survey maps for the county where properties showed different property lines and stuff and all that. And so that's basically what I was doing when I met my wife. And she didn't like Rochester, New York at all. She wasn't from there. It's too cold. We don't like this here. So we decided to move. So we quit our jobs. We didn't have kids then, didn't have much of anything. So we were going to head out here to the Bay Area because her husband was going to Berkeley Law School. So we wanted to join up with them.
Yeah.
But so along the way, we stopped in Overland Park, Kansas to see her folks who transferred from Rochester. He got transferred to Overland Park.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they were. So they said, hey, this is a good place to live. Why don't you stop and look for a job or something? So we said, yeah, sounds like a good idea. So I found the job. We got a job with this company called the Dark Truck Company division of PACCAR Inc. And PACCAR Inc. is based out of Bellevue, Washington. And they make, there are several different companies under them, like Peterbilt Trucks and Kenworth Trucks and stuff. You see them? And the Dark Truck Company. So they said they needed somebody who knew a little bit of engineering background and all that, who can deal with vendors and try to get money back for warranty parts, because these things were huge earth-moving equipments. The tires were 12 feet in diameter. Huge things are used in open pit mining and logging equipment and really big, expensive things. Back then, they were like, this is back in the 70s, they're $200,000 a piece or better. So the components were worth thousands of dollars. So I said, yeah, I took the job. I developed a form. I went back to all these different suppliers. I started bringing all this money in that the company never had before. And they thought this was really good. And, like the hydraulic cylinders on a logger and all on the trucks and all, they're a couple $1,000 a piece. The transmissions are, like $10,000 a piece. And getting them fixed or replacement parts or getting money was big money to the company. So they appreciated it. Then they said, well, our credit manager is leaving. You're getting money in from vendors. Do you think you can get money from our customers? Get them to pay. Oh, yeah, give it a try. So they sent me to school for that, separate from what I was doing. And I had to take some correspondence courses they had specialized in this thing. And I started doing that, getting money from the customers. I had to go out and visit a lot of the customers. And these are like huge mining companies and stuff. And that was really good. I started bringing that money in and doing good. And then an opening opened up with their Peterbilt division in Newark, California. And their Western Regional Credit Manager left. They said, how would you like to go to California? I said, gee, I was going there anyway to begin with. So I got transferred to that job. And then I had the 2 kids. They transferred the whole family, paid the way, paid the hotel. Everything was really great. And so I moved found a house in Fremont. Then my wife and I lived there comfortably. We actually 3 houses there, moving up and all that. So it was really good. Later on, my boss, who was over the whole Peterbilt finance,
he left, and I thought maybe I should get that position. But they brought in a guy from a competitor. He was like an older guy back then. I was wondering why they got this guy, and he wasn't much fun to work for. I'm thinking, so I answered an ad in the Wall Street Journal thinking I never get it with a high-tech company, and I did. So I moved into high-tech from there and commuted from Fremont to down towards Palo Alto, which is a long commute. But unfortunately, that company went bankrupt. Again, lost those stock options. And then I kept moving around high-tech companies in credit and finance and all the way up to the end of my career.
It's awesome.
So that's what changed it.
And so you started with like one company, and how long were you at that first company?
11 years.
11 years. That's
With
awesome.
with Packard Inc. They're actually headquartered in Bellevue, Washington. With the Peterbilt division, I got to travel all over the West Coast. I had to visit at least one dealer a month somewhere and go over their financials with them and make sure they're abiding by the contractual arrangements that they agreed to financially.
Yeah.
And so I had to do that. And you got to fly at some of their airplanes. I got to fly in the corporate jet once. And that was kind of cool. But then after I left them, they decided that they were tired of dealing with the 4 unions that dominated that plant and would go on strike every 4 years. So they closed that plant down and they built a brand new plant in Denton, Texas.
Yeah.
So if I stayed with them, I would have been down in Texas, never met you guys.
I know. It's crazy to think.
Texas payback.
It all works out. It all works out for a reason. Like, just thinking about that. And I think with me, it's very prevalent right now with college decisions are coming up. And so it's like I try to keep on telling myself it all works out for a reason. And just like,
you never know what's going to happen. You're going this way, all of a sudden something happens and you're over here. So, you got to be prepared to be flexible.
Yeah, it's just something new.
If you get too locked in, then you're going to get very upset and say, oh, no, okay. With the family and all that, you have to be quite flexible and try to accept what you got and work with it best you can.
I think that's what's beautiful about life, honestly, is just how cool, like how everyone's living these different lives and how you can just like, you can go from one thing to just a completely different thing in 20 seconds and it's really cool.
What's an assumption about teens or senior citizens that Better Together has shifted for you? Or what are maybe like stereotypes that you feel like have been broken by Better Together?
I feel like getting to know the teenagers is one thing because, a lot of times you think teenagers are irresponsible and boisterous and stuff. But meeting you guys has been fantastic. I mean, you're all sharp, very and outgoing, and it's super pleasure. And to be able to discuss things, your lives, our lives together, it's very meaningful. I think it's as meaningful for us as it is for you because it gives us hope for the future for you guys and the future for every other teenager, knowing you guys. It's like we're in good hands.
Yeah.
Coming up.
That might be like a stark difference from volunteering at the police. Like you see a lot of the bad cases versus like I feel like there's a difference between.
Yeah, we don't see too many bad cases in our position. And Danville's a very safe town. It's the safest city in California.
I think the thing with teens is now the e-bikes and they're always getting pulled over and stuff.
And rightfully so, because these kids are dangerous.
Yeah, so a lot of those bikes are illegals.
Yeah.
Or illegal bikes.
And the kids are driving them like they think they can get away with all this stuff. And they're cutting in front of cars. I don't know how many times I had to slam on my brakes. I don't want to hit a kid. But I think the parents need to wake up and say, my kid shouldn't be on this thing. What's wrong with riding a bike and pedaling? You get good exercise. It's a lot safer.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're getting absolutely no exercise, and they're endangered. I see some kids actually popping wheelies on these things. You can fall.
They're really cool. Like I'm sorry, but just seeing the amount of strength and skill that they have to do some of the tricks that they're doing. And did you see below, like the creek where they created that like whole bike course? That's really cool.
What side?
As long as they're doing it, if they're doing it there, fine. Don't do it on the road where there's cars and people.
A lot of people I know, though, on e-bikes have gone into some really bad crashes. I know, just been hit by cars or just ran into things. But yeah, biking overall is dangerous, especially like mountain biking. I know a few people have been in the hospital for a few days.
Well, I consider most bikers to me live in their own protective bubble. I'm in my little bubble on my bike and nothing's going to happen to me, even though I'm driving down Camino Tassajara right there at the edge of the bike lane and cars are going by me at 60 miles an hour. I'm safe.
Some of those bikes, like you can cut the wire on them to make them like faster.
How do you know this,
Because
Nolan?
I had like a foldable little one. It went like 15.
I had a
And my
Razor
friends
scooter,
had
15.
like, they were spending thousands on these bikes and they would be like, oh, have you cut the wire? I was like, no, mine only goes 15. And they was like, oh, I just cut mine goes like 55 now. I said, 55? You're talking about a bike, right?
I'm scared to go 55.
You're a hamburger. You're a hamburger if you ain't thinking at 55 miles an hour. You know that?
Yeah, that's just
that's
asking
it. You're just
for an injury.
You're nothing. You're just a pile of yuck.
That's
Pile of yuck. I love that.
perfectly describes it.
Yes. It's going to be the name of this podcast.
Pile of yuck.
I love that.
Thank you, Burt, for coming and joining us on the podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with all you guys.
Thank you for listening to Bina from Contra Costa Midrashah. I'm your host and lead producer, Yarden Crane. Our senior producer and editor is Andrew Sims. Our associate producer is Aviva Feder. Our producer is Julia Kurzrock. And our executive producers are Deborah Aarons, Aaron Corney, Shanti Brooke, and Rob Goldman. We also want to thank our funders, Sinai and Synapses, Contra Costa Jewish Community Center, an anonymous prominent national foundation, and the wider Midrashah community for making this show possible. If you want to donate so we can make more episodes or have questions for our team, email shalom@binapod.com or visit binapod.com. Our Bina Better Together podcast presents candid interviews and personal stories, including memories, opinions, reflections, and personal information. These conversations are shared from each speaker's perspective. Whenever we edit for length and clarity, good faith efforts are made to reserve the accuracy and intent of expressed statements. All subjective views and opinions expressed on air are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of Contra Costa Midrashah, human content, the student host, the production team, or any affiliated individuals and organizations. To learn more about our ethics policy, visit binapod.com. This has been a Human Content and Contra Costa Midrashah production.